I'm going to make a test project making a double layer beanie hat on my 48 needle circular knitting machine with my motor adapter attached. And so I'm going to do the cast on and cast off, show how that's done with the adapter. That will be done in real time. And then when we get to making the hat, I'm just gonna fast forward through that and speed it up. But I do have full tutorials on how to make a beanie hat, and so I'll put the links in the description of the video so you can click on them. So the yarn I'm going to use is a Premier number 3 medium weight yarn. I have it on the floor in my basket because that seems to help with tension and helps with dropped and tuck stitches not to happen as often. And then I'm going to cast on at my white needle, which is my 48th needle. That's where I'm going to start it. And then we're going to go over and under each needle one time around, and we just use that white little knob to crank for the cast on. It's definitely something I wouldn't want to make a whole project cranking that knob with, but for the cast on, it's not too bad. And just remember, either way, if you're using this motor adapter or if you're using the crank handle when you go to cast on, you don't want it very tight and you don't want it extremely loose either. You kind of just want it kissing the needles one time around to make that foundation. Once we're back, I'm going to put the yarn in the yarn holder all the way down. And then since this is a number 3 lightweight yarn, I'm going to put it in the smallest hole of the yarn tensioner. And again, I have my yarn in the basket on the ground. And then I will always hold this yarn with my hand so I can feel if any knots come up. And then I can stop the machine, remove the knot, and then continue. So to start, you want to make sure it's off and you want to make sure the speed is all the way down and turned off. And then I push it forward. And then now I turn on my speed with the little silver knob, and I started out a little bit slow to start just to make sure that the yarn is going well and it gets a good foundation, and then I will speed it up. And so here it is starting. And then we'll go one time around, going a little bit faster. And you'll see at one point, I'll speed this up, I'll fast forward, but you'll see how there's a knot and I feel it with my hand. So I stop the machine, get rid of the knot, and then I continue on. So just speeding up the video. There's the knot I felt. And just get that out, and then I restarted the machine. And so for this hat, I did 120 rows. And now I'm gonna cut it to where it's done, and now we're gonna cast off, and I'll do this part in real time as well. So to go to cast off, you can either do the circumference of the machine, or I just kind of do like the length of the machine, but you do want a pretty long tail when you go to the cast off, or else it will be too tight and it'll be real easy to drop the stitches. So I have a nice long tail, and I get one of my plastic needles. I have it still hooked on that 48th needle when I took it out of the yarn tensioner, and then I'll put it on my needle to cast off. And so now what I'm doing is it's still hooked on that white needle, but the next needle is now my number 1 needle. When that drops, I'm going to start picking up each of those stitches. And this is to cast off to make the beanie hat. This type of cast on and cast off, it makes that drawstring effect where then you can cinch the hat closed and make the double layer beanie. So I'll do this all the way around, and I'll speed up the video. And this isn't too bad. It felt pretty much the same like when using the crank handle. And then some people will crank it once all the way time around and then cast off. I prefer this method because I seem not to drop my stitches as easy. Now that that's done, I'll just fast forward through this, but I make a complete beanie hat. It seemed to work really well. The stitches are all nice and even. I wouldn't just leave the machine unattended because, like I said, if you get that knot, or where there's like, you get those knots from the factory where they tied 2 together, you don't want that going through your machine. And then again, if you want a full step-by-step tutorial that's slower than this on how to create the double layer beanie hat, I'll have those links in the description below. It will say yarn over and it looks like a little play button. Just click on those and it should take you to them. So here's the hat completely done. I think it turned out really well. So far, so good. My next one, I'm going to try to make the tube cardigan with this because that's why I got the adapter. And I will update. So please like and follow for more. Happy crafting.